In today's video, I'll be revealing the dangerous Roth conversion trap that specifically targets retirees worth around $750,000 in IRA assets and creates massive unintended tax and Medicare consequences. If you're new to the channel, hi, I'm Julia Lemke, certified financial planner and managing director of URS Advisory. And through working with hundreds of clients in this exact situation, I've discovered that retirees with $750,000 are the most aggressively targeted for Roth conversions by financial advisors, yet they're also the most likely to suffer devastating financial consequences from bad conversion advice. And that's exactly why I'm making this video today, to expose the $750,000 Roth conversion trap and show you why this group sits in the most dangerous conversion zone, reveal the smarter strategies that protect your wealth, and get you on the right track. And be sure to stick around through the end because I'm going to run through a checklist to determine if Roth conversions are right for you and how you should go about doing them. So let's get into it. If you've watched my videos, you know that I am a huge fan of Roth conversions when done properly and thoughtfully. However, pre-retirees with around $750,000 in traditional IRAs are again the most aggressively targeted for Roth conversions, and it's not by accident. They sit in what many advisors consider the conversion sweet spot. This amount appears large enough to justify sophisticated tax planning strategies. From a sales perspective, $750,000 looks like enough to handle the tax bill that comes with a conversion without appearing to threaten the principal in a way that would scare clients off. But this is also what makes this group the most vulnerable. These folks are often pitched one-size-fits-all Roth conversion strategies under the promise of long-term tax-free growth, without enough consideration for their actual income levels, spending needs, or estate goals. They're typically in a precarious zone. They have too much saved to ignore the tax impact of future required minimum distributions, Medicare surcharges, and Social Security taxation, but not enough wealth to easily absorb large tax bills from upfront conversions. Many are still in their peak earning years or have limited income gaps before RMDs begin, meaning the taxes owed on conversions often hit at their highest marginal rates. Unlike ultra-wealthy retirees who can use outside brokerage or cash accounts to pay the tax bill, this group often lacks sufficient liquid, non-retirement assets to cover conversion taxes without dipping into the IRA itself, which compounds the problem. This dynamic creates a perfect storm for Roth conversion disasters: high taxes, poor liquidity, and overconfidence driven by generic advice. Unfortunately, few advisors offering aggressive conversion strategies take the time to warn clients about these trade-offs or model worst-case scenarios. For retirees in this bracket, the strategy may look smart on the surface, but beneath it lies significant risk if not personalized and carefully timed. Understanding the danger zone is crucial, but the tax bracket trap creates the most immediate and evident financial damage. Many people in this range start in the 22% tax bracket, which feels manageable. But when they convert large amounts, say $100,000 or more, they can accidentally push themselves into much higher tax brackets like 24%, 28%, or even 32%. That jump means a big chunk of the conversion gets taxed at a much higher rate, and just moving from 22% to 32% can cost an extra $10,000 in taxes for every $100,000 converted. Let me show you what I mean. Meet Mike and Lisa, both 64 and recently retired. They have a combined $750,000 in traditional IRAs and receive $40,000 a year from Social Security and earn another $20,000 in taxable investment income, putting their total baseline income at $60,000. Wanting to reduce future required minimum distributions, they decide to do a $100,000 Roth conversion this year. On the surface, this seems, again, manageable. They're well below the 24% tax bracket threshold of $201,050 for married couples filing jointly. But once you account for the impact of the conversion, things get more expensive than expected. The $100,000 conversion stacks on top of their $60,000 in base income, bringing their total income to $160,000. Because of that higher income, 85% of their Social Security benefits, an additional $34,000, now becomes taxable. After the standard deduction and adjustments, their taxable income ends up around $134,000. This pushes a large portion of their conversion into the 22% bracket and possibly even the 24% bracket, depending on other factors. What they assumed would be a simple conversion ends up costing significantly more in taxes, likely an extra $10,000 or more, just from jumping tax brackets. They didn't anticipate how conversion income would cause more of their Social Security to be taxed and how fast marginal tax rates increase. So rather than spreading conversions over several low-income years, they did too much at once and paid for it in avoidable taxes. This example shows how easy it is for retirees in the $750,000 range to get hit with costly surprises when Roth conversions are not properly planned. For folks who don't have a lot of extra cash sitting around, paying those big tax bills often means pulling even more from their IRA, which basically undoes the whole point of the strategy. And I see this all the time, right? Many of our clients have all of their wealth tied up in pre-tax. They want to do Roth conversions, but they only have, $50,000 to $100,000 outside of their retirement accounts. And without careful planning, Roth conversions can backfire in a big way. So take Susan, age 65, recently retired with $750,000 in her traditional IRA. She wants to do a $60,000 Roth conversion this year to reduce future RMDs. However, she doesn't have much cash outside of her retirement accounts. So she plans to withhold taxes from the conversion itself, and she chooses to have 20% withheld for taxes, or $12,000, leaving only $48,000 actually going into her Roth IRA. So not only does this reduce the long-term growth potential of her Roth account, since less money is invested, but the $12,000 withheld is treated as a taxable distribution, just like the rest of the conversion. So that adds to her taxable income and can cause more for Social Security benefit to be taxed, or even trigger Medicare IRMA surcharges. Speaking of the Medicare IRMA surcharges, let's briefly discuss how these charges are rarely taken into consideration during Roth conversion planning. We all now understand that when you do a large Roth conversion, it increases your modified adjusted gross income, or your MI, your MAGI. But when you're 63 or older, if your MAGI goes over certain limits, Medicare will charge you extra each month for Part B and Part D coverage. These IRMA surcharges can add $2,000 to $6,000 or more per year in extra Medicare premiums. Let me show you. Tom and Karen are both 67 and recently retired. They have a combined $750,000 in traditional IRAs and receive $50,000 in Social Security benefits and $20,000 in investment income. Their total annual income before any Roth conversions is $70,000. They want to convert their entire traditional IRA balances to Roth over the next 5 years per their advisor's advice, so they convert $150,000 in 2025, bringing their total income to $220,000, which is just over the Medicare IRMA limit. In 2027, Medicare uses their 2025 tax return to calculate their Medicare IRMA premiums, and as a result, their Part B goes from the standard $175 a month per person to about $244 per month each. And their Part D sees an increase of another $20,000 per month per person. Together, their Medicare premiums increase by roughly $178 per month, or over $2,000 per year. Had their advisor done a strategic analysis and planned accordingly, this wouldn't have happened. Sadly, most advisors only focus on the promise of tax-free growth, but ignore how much those conversions can hurt your cash flow right now. For retirees, again, without a lot of extra income or savings, these higher Medicare costs can do real damage. Now that you understand these dangerous conversion traps, click the link in the description to watch the free training video showing you how to build your dream retirement as a whole. Now, if you're in this group, let's take some time to learn how you can protect yourself from these Roth conversion disasters with smarter approaches, because with the right planning, you can still enjoy the benefits of tax-free growth without falling into the traps that make conversions financially destructive. Let's go over the important questions you need to ask yourself in order to determine if Roth conversions may be right for you. And question number 1 is, will you have lower than usual taxable income now or in upcoming years? If you're in a lower tax bracket today than you expect to be in the future, such as during early retirement, a gap between jobs, or before required minimum distributions begin, you have an opportunity to fill up those lower brackets with conversions at a discount. Question number 2 is, do you have large pre-tax balances that will trigger large RMDs later that you will not need for living expenses? Sometimes we have clients who have these huge pre-tax retirement accounts, and when RMDs kick in later at 73 or 75, they're hit with a huge distribution that they have no need for. So obviously this pushes them into higher tax brackets, right? With income that they can't even spend. Strategic Roth conversions in earlier years can reduce this future liability. So, that's something that you need to understand. Question number 3, and this is very important. Do you have available cash to pay taxes on the conversion or conversions? The most effective Roth conversions are done using money outside of the IRA to pay the tax bill. This allows the full converted amount to move into the Roth account and grow tax-free without shrinking your retirement savings in the process. Recall the Susan example from earlier. Question number 4, do you have a long time horizon to allow for tax-free growth? The longer your Roth funds have to grow before you need to withdraw them, the more valuable the tax-free growth becomes. This makes younger retirees or early retirees ideal candidates, especially if they don't plan to tap into the Roth account for a decade or more. Question number 5, do you want to leave as large of a legacy as possible to your heirs? Roth IRAs are the very best accounts to inherit because they retain tax-free status for 10 years after your death. If you don't care so much about leaving the best legacy possible, Roth IRAs may not be worth it for you. It's important to understand that anytime you're doing Roth conversions, you're going to take a hit on your net worth up front, right? Because you're using your cash or brokerage accounts to pay living expenses plus the taxes owed on the conversions. If you answered yes to these questions, you should look at your numbers and run an analysis to see if a Roth conversion is in your best interest. Here are some pointers to do this effectively. Number 1, focus on doing small strategic conversions during low income years, which we've discussed earlier, right? So early retirement, a gap between jobs, etc. Because these income gap years provide an ideal window to convert just enough to fill lower tax brackets without triggering unnecessary taxes or penalties. This can keep you from pushing income into the 24, 32, or 35% tax brackets. Also, before you convert a single dollar, you really need to calculate your total financial impact, meaning weighing the pros and cons of Medicare IRMAA surcharges and a lower net worth for the first 10 or so years of your conversion strategy. You need to model your specific situation or have an advisor model your specific situation so that your strategy protects the wealth you've worked so hard to grow. I know that I've said this a few times, but it's worth saying again. You need to make sure that you have cash outside of your retirement accounts to pay that tax bill. When cash is tight, the best move may be to just skip Roth conversions entirely, especially when the tax cost and reduced conversions outweigh any future benefit. In the year that you turn 63, please pay close attention to the Medicare IRMAA brackets, because this is where Medicare starts to look back, right? You turn 65 and join Medicare at your age 65, but they look at your tax bracket from 2 years prior. And although, wages and working income, if you've already retired, can be a reason to appeal that extra premium, Roth conversions are not appealable. So this is very important when you turn 63. Okay, now that you understand the $750,000 Roth conversion trap and how to avoid the devastating tax and Medicare consequences, you can now plan for yourself to make your tax strategy as efficient as possible. If you still need help with your situation, click the link in the description below to build your tax perfect plan for retirement, and I'll see you next time.